This is OwlUp, where learning happens in minutes, not hours. For a deeper journey, explore all our courses at owlup.co. Now, let's dive in. Welcome to Chapter 1 of Body Language and Nonverbal Communication, where we're diving straight into the windows to the soul, your eyes. Today we're uncovering what those subtle changes in pupil size, how often someone blinks, and whether they can actually look you in the eye, are really telling you about what's going on inside their head. Let's get into it. Your eyes just gave you away, before you even knew what you were feeling. In a bright office, two people hear the same risky proposal. One person's pupils quietly widen, the other starts rapid blinking and breaking eye contact. Same room, same words, completely different silent stories. That silent story in your eyes isn't random. It's more like a live performance directed by your nervous system. While words march out in neat lines, your eyes riff in real time, subtle solos of stress, curiosity, defiance, or boredom. In a negotiation, one executive keeps a steady gaze but blinks in restless bursts whenever deadlines are mentioned. In a first date, someone's eyes keep darting left whenever the conversation turns personal, yet linger just a bit longer when humor softens the tension. These aren't tells in a poker sense so much as shifting signals in a dense, overlapping network. Light, culture, fatigue, personality, even screen glow shape what your eyes broadcast. To read them well, you don't decode a single signal, you track patterns over moments, like following recurring themes in a song rather than fixating on one note. Instead of hunting for a single tell, it helps to know which systems are playing through the eyes. Three big ones overlap. Arousal, how fired up your body is. Effort, how hard your brain is working. And social stance, how you're positioning yourself with others. Arousal tweaks how intensely you react. Effort shapes how still or locked in your gaze becomes, and social stance colors where and how long you look. In a tense meeting, all three can collide. Your attention may cling to a slide, flick to a rival, or soften toward an ally, each shift like a quick key change that hints at what matters most right now. If you zoom in, each of the big three systems you just met leaves slightly different fingerprints in the eyes. Start with social stance. Where your gaze lands and how long it stays there sketches a live map of status, comfort, and intention. In Western offices, looking a manager in the eye while they talk often reads as confidence. Holding that same intensity with your nose almost touching theirs flips into challenge. In parts of East Asia, a softer gaze toward the neck or shirt collar can signal respect rather than evasiveness. That's why copying someone else's strong eye contact can backfire. Dominance, deference, or warmth depend on local rules, plus the relationship history between the two people. Then there's when the eyes move. People tend to look at what matters before they speak about it. In a product pitch, notice the momentary glances toward a skeptical stakeholder right as cost comes up, or the quick check toward the most senior person before a risky suggestion. You're seeing attention and social calculus leak out microseconds ahead of the conversation. Blinking adds another layer of timing. Beyond sheer count, pay attention to clusters and gaps. Long stretches with almost no blinks often ride alongside intense mental engagement, deep coding, absorbing bad news, or watching a crucial play. Bursts of blinks right after a tough question can mark a pivot point. The system briefly reboots as someone reframes, suppresses, or edits what they're about to say. That doesn't mean they're lying. It means that exact moment is costly for their system. Pupil shifts ride on top of this as a kind of emphasis. In lab studies, the more demanding a task, the more those black circles subtly expand, roughly tracking effort with that R of the Riesel 0.33 effect size. Outside the lab, that might show up as a tiny widening when a particular slide pops up in a board deck, or when a throwaway comment actually lands much harder than the speaker realizes. Here's where things get tricky. The same pattern can mean almost opposite things in different bodies. A neurodivergent colleague may avoid gaze to conserve processing power, not to hide anything. Someone raised in a strict household might freeze their face and stare more when scared, while another looks down and away. Reading eyes well means building a baseline album for each person over time, how they look when relaxed, curious, pressured, and then noticing the remixes, when blinks bunch up in unusual places, when gaze lingers on a topic they claim is no big deal, when their pupils swell more for one option than another in an otherwise polite, neutral debate.
In a hiring panel, watch what happens when a wild card candidate walks in.
The room may stay politely still, but one interviewer's gaze keeps darting back to the resume, another's lingers on the candidate's hands, a third suddenly stares at the table whenever salary is raised. You're not decoding a secret code so much as catching where each mind hooks when stakes feel real. In a weekly stand-up, the engineer who usually stares at their laptop might unexpectedly hold your gaze when technical debt is mentioned, then retreat to the screen once the topic passes. That brief shift can matter more than 10 minutes of scripted status updates. On video calls, you get an extra twist. People may look away while actually reading your face on a second monitor, or stare straight at the camera while mentally composing an email. Treat these like jazz cues rather than sheet music, recurring riffs, where attention consistently spikes, stalls, or swerves tell you which topics, people, or risks quietly dominate the room. Your own eyes are part of the system too. In groups, whoever others watch more often tends to gain quiet influence, like a speaker everyone keeps glancing at for the beat. Notice who becomes that visual anchor when tension rises or big choices loom. In conflict, a softer gaze or slower blink tempo can de-escalate faster than another paragraph of reasoning. And as interfaces start tracking gaze by default, deciding when you're willing to be seen becomes a new kind of boundary setting. Treat this less like hunting for tells and more like learning a friend's handwriting. Messy at first, then oddly specific once you've seen enough pages. As you move through hallways, calls, and crowded feeds, you can start asking, what are this person's eyes prioritizing right now? That question is less a verdict than an invitation to pay sharper, kinder attention. Here's your challenge this week. In your next 3 real-time conversations, no texts or emails, deliberately experiment with your eyes in 3 ways. First, keep steady, relaxed eye contact for 60 to 70% of the time. Second, notice when your pupil dilation or blinking changes and silently label what you're feeling in that moment: curious, stressed, bored, etc. Third, add one intentional connection moment by briefly holding eye contact for 1 extra second when you say something important. After each conversation, rate yourself from 1 to 5 on those 3 behaviors: eye contact consistency, emotion awareness from your eyes, and that extra second connection moment. Aim to improve your average score by at least 1 point by the 3rd conversation. This was OwlUp, your daily step forward. To keep learning with structured courses and more insights, go to owlup.co. Until tomorrow!